Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. We're going to talk about the video game Fallout, and we're going to talk about Pennsylvania. And all of this is merged together in one Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition game, which we call D&D 5e Fallout Keystone, which is a current running tabletop role-playing game that is running at my house right now every single Sunday night from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at my kitchen table, right? And there are 4 dungeon masters at the table, and one of those dungeon masters is running this game, and then the other 3 dungeon masters who run in different slots in my Sunday game are all playing in this game. So this is, I've been unleashed to talk about my, I've been very much unleashed to talk about my specific, about my players by my players, which is really nice. I'm going to use pseudonyms for their names, and the reason why is I have an incredibly unique view of Dungeons and Dragons, and I carry a weight for that. They're like, what I believe about Dungeons and Dragons upsets people. There's just no two ways about it, right? And people have all kinds of different responses, none of which are, Scott, you're right, I totally agree with you. I have not met that person yet. And so I have this unique view of Dungeons & Dragons, which I realize it's up to me to present the evidence, right, for what I believe, which is Unbound identity theory. All of my evidence can be found in the playlist below, and I'm trying to bring people to this incredibly unique view of Dungeons & Dragons, which I know is an incredibly unique view. And so I don't want to attach that burden to my players, right, because they don't need to carry that just for, being in my game. So that's the reason why. Also, I will say right now, that's one of the reasons why I don't take my game is, basically I have such a unique view of Dungeons and Dragons, and people's reaction to it is so broad and so, people's reaction are, most of the reactions are like unpleasant. Some of them go beyond unpleasant, right? And so again, I don't like to, I'm not going to expose, I don't want anybody to carry the burden I carry for having a unique view of Dungeons and Dragons beyond me. There you go. All right. All right. So let's keep it moving from there. All right. So right now, so let me explain our group. There's me, Scott Garibay, at the table. There is the dungeon master, Philip, and Philip is a huge Fallout fan. He has played every single edition of the game, and it is by far his favorite video game. And I have played with him many, probably about a half a dozen times, the Fallout board game, and I have watched many videos that he has sent me on Fallout, and so I have a pretty good understanding of Fallout. And all of this was to launch Fallout as this tabletop role-playing game that we're playing right now, which is very exciting. Now, generally, I am not a video game fan. I will say it right now, I am an opponent of the video game industry. I'll say that flat out. I think that generally the video game industry has an incredibly low return on investment, right? So it's not the money you spend on video games. Actually, you get an incredibly high return on value money-wise from a video game. You pay $60. Almost no video games give less than 60 hours of play nowadays. Short video games are highly castigated and do incredibly poorly on the market. And so you have this situation where, so money-wise, they're a great return on investment. The real cost of every video game you play is time, right? You put 100 hours into Dungeons & Dragons, you're going to read better, you're going to talk better, your vocabulary is going to be higher, you're going to have more empathy, you're going to have more literacy, you're going to have more compassion, you're going to have, I honestly believe it will help you be more charismatic, more intelligent, and more confident, right? You play a video game, ask any parent in the world, like, hey, would you like your kid to dump 100 hours into video games? And a parent in the world will say yes. They'll say, I would rather they dump that into anything else, because the time, what they will get back for their time is god awful, just the worst, right? And so generally, video games are a absolute suck return on investment, right? I'm going to say it flat out. Dungeons & Dragons makes you a better person. Video games make you a worse person. no two ways about it. There ain't no parent in the world who's ever watched their kid and said, that 100 hours dumped into that video game definitely made my kid better, right? Like, whereas, take a look today, you got, parents everywhere begging their kids to play, right? Because they know the return on investment is high, right? And I think parents they're like really like, why are parents important here? They care about their kids, right? They have a crystal clarity on what wastes their time and what doesn't, right? Because they can see it. They can see behavior, they can see, and across the board, video games are just trash on return on investment. The time you spend on them is not rewarded. It is punished at a rate of about 99%. I think there's 1% of video games in the world that actually the time spent in them is worth what you get back. Yeah. All right. So let's keep going. All right. So why am I excited about? I am incredibly excited about this Dungeons and Dragons video game campaign. Why? Here's why. Friends matter, right? Like, so Philip is one of my best friends, and he is incredibly passionate about this world. I really think he wants to spend time in this world, and the time he invested in this, right, was very joyful for him, and so he has incredibly goodwill for the Fallout world, right? And his passion for the world is infectious, right? He really, so on our first session, we actually took, we all started as human players in a vault. Now, that was imposed on us. That's probably a different video. We were kind of told, hey, you are these humans at an age between 18 and 22. And the reason why is the Dungeon Master had this vision where he wanted us to emerge from a vault into the wasteland together, right? So he did that imposition. Now, I think he could have had one of us be a synth, or there was other ways that we could have, been logically in the vault, right? But so whenever I'm talking about games, I love this game, but you're definitely going to hear the parts that I would have done different. And I'm a dungeon master, so there's always going to be parts that I do different. So if I say, hey, I would have done this different, it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just the way I would, I never watch a dungeon master and go, oh yeah, they did all of that right. I'm always like, I would have tweaked this, tweaked that. So I wasn't super happy about the limit on what we could choose as far as race. And then I also thought it was a little odd that we were restricted on age-wise, but the Dungeon Master has this vision, of this is what I want to put into place, right? So we're moving forward with that, and it is working. So one of the things is we took a GOAT together. Since we were all students, there's the general occupational aptitude test, and so we took this GOAT, and what really blew me away was in session 1, the Dungeon Master Philip, by the way, pseudonym, right? Yeah. And Philip was like, okay, actually stood up like the teacher and actually read the test. And we all had physical paper and actually marked down our items. And he actually graded them and was like, based on your grade tests, you are going to be X, Y, or Z, right? My character, I generally play lawful good characters, and also my evangelical Christianity often comes out in my player characters, right? Not always, but sometimes. And this character, was kind of a blank slate to me. And one of the reasons why this character was a blank slate, and I didn't really have a vision of who and what he was and why my own self was more emerging from this player character than others, is because I didn't control the race. I didn't really feel, when we started, I really didn't feel like I had control of this character. I felt like this character was being handed to me. That is changing as we are going forward in the game, right? But I'm going to warn you, I cannot say this enough, right? You, the Dungeon Master, do not own the player character, right? Every time you put your foot on it, it hurts. It disconnects and disengages people from that player character, right? Whereas, and I know this is hard for Dungeon Masters because they want to have this singular vision, right? But the reality is, you are controlling every single thing in the world. So the moment you reach in to take control of anything on a player character, it is a god complex. It's saying, controlling literally everything in this world, but your character sheet isn't enough. I need to control your character sheet. So now the nice thing is the Dungeon Master is very good enough that now that we're in, I'm starting to feel like I own this character, and this character is actually mine, right? So very, very interesting. So we took the goat, and actually I became the Vault Chaplain. But what really is incredible to me is just how Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition specifically, right? We dropped in, we've been able to, we've had 2 sessions now, and Philip has been able to do just an amazing job of bringing this world to life. And, not only is he getting all the benefits of the Fallout world from the video game, but all of that is infused and marinated in his passion and his love for the game, for Fallout, which is just so clear, right? So I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited that the Fallout game is turning out to be as strong as it is. And I'm also incredibly thankful to the Dungeon Master for making it a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition campaign, which everybody at the table understands what 5th edition is, because this particular Dungeon Master ran Genesis for a long time, and he could have run this with Genesis, right? And I think he would be having more fun if he ran this with Genesis, but he got immediate engagement with at least 2 players at the table who are like, I don't know Genesis from actually I actively dislike Genesis at this point. I think it's too crunchy. They did not control their power curve. They did nothing to keep the game simple, and now it's just a big hot mess, exactly like Pathfinder 1E was, and why they went to Pathfinder 2E and weren't able to fix the problem. So I'm really thrilled at the game moving to the 5E aspects. So thank you for letting me share this aspect of the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition Fallout Keystone game. By the way, Keystone is it's a touchstone word for Pennsylvania. It's kind of our part of our state heritage. Do you have experience with Fallout game? Have you played any of them? What did you think? Have you used Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition to play any specific, to expand and to jump into your video game world? I'd love to hear about it. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing. Have a wonderful millennium.